We're going to do a quick review of everything we've learned this year. It's not terribly difficult. What we've done is chapter 1, which was linear functions, substitution, elimination, solving linear stuff. Chapter 2, we did some line stuff, a little bit more trickier. Chapter 3, we did quadratics. Now we're going to do a quick review, so we've all caught up with everything. Let's look at the first question. They've given us two equations, and it says which ordered pair satisfies both of these equations. So how would you do this? Ordered pair just means the solution. They're asking us what's the solution to this system of linear equations. There's multiple ways to do it. You could plug -5, -2 into both of them. Okay, see if it works. Plug 1, 7 into both the equations, see if it works. So for the first one, you'd plug x as -5 and 2 as -2 and see if this works. So this is -15 plus 4 equals -11. So that checks out because that's -11 equals -11. Now you do the same thing in the other equation. You'd plug the same point. So you do 5 times -5 plus -2 equals -1. Now you see that if that's true. This one doesn't appear to be true because that's -27. So the first option is out, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You simply plug the points into the equation. That's a little bit tedious. What if they don't give you the options? What you want to do is you want to solve this as a system of linear equations. So remember, if you have multiple equations, you can do either elimination, substitution. You want to do substitution if you have a coefficient of 1 in any of the x or the y's. So here the coefficient is 3 and -2, but over here the coefficient is 5 and 1. I'm gonna do a substitution for y. I'm gonna isolate the y, so I get y is equals to -1 minus 5x. Now that y, I'm gonna plug it back in here. So you get 3x minus 2 times -1 minus 5x equals -11. This is substitution. How do you solve this linear equation? What would you do first if you want to solve this? There's only,
Open the bracket.
yeah, that's the only thing you can do. 3x, if you open the bracket, what do you get?
-3x plus 15x squared.
Good try, but nope. What we're doing is we're multiplying -2, okay? When we're opening the brackets, we're multiplying -2 with this bracket. So the first term, 3x is out. 3x is outside of the negative sign. So the first one will be -2 times -1, which is +2. The next one will be -2 times -5x, which is 10x. Like that. So you get, what is this, 13x, right?
Mm-hmm.
Plus 2 equals -11. Subtract 2 from both sides. 13x is equals to -13. So x is -1. To find the y value, plug it as x up there. So you get -1 minus 5, and x is -1. So -1 plus 5, that's going to be 4. So the answer is -1, 4. That's our ordered pair. Ordered pair just means a coordinate, which is option C, and that's going to be the right answer for this question, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'd just like to tell you why this is not going to be 3x squared or anything like this. If you have A minus B, 2 plus, I don't know, like C. A is outside the minus sign, you see? It's only B that's being multiplied. If you look at BEDMAS, A is subtracting something. So A is not actually part of the bracket. So you don't worry about A. A drops down as it is. But B is the component that's being multiplied with the bracket. So you got to FOIL it with B. The first term would be negative 2B, B times negative 2. The next term would be negative B times C, so minus BC. So that's how you'd FOIL it. If you did it squared or whatever, you'd have seen that none of the answers would have matched. So that's why that would have been wrong. Question number 2. Which linear system has the solution 5 and 2? Is it the same question? It's a little bit different. Last time we had one system, now we have 4 systems. So this one, what's the quickest way? I think quickest way is to simply plug it in to see if it works, but we have to do it 4 different times. For A, right, what am I gonna do? I'm just gonna plug it in. So the X value is 2. The Y value, sorry, the X value is 5. The Y value is 2. So 2 minus 3. This checks out for the top equation. Now we're gonna do the same thing for the bottom equation of A. So 2 times 5 plus 2 equals 8. That is not true. That's 12. So option A is out because it does not check out for the bottom equation. Option B. Again, plug your X in there. X is 5 minus 2 times 2 equals 1. 5 minus 4. That checks out. Same thing for the bottom. We're just going to plug X and Y. X is 5. Y is 2. So you get 15 minus 8 equals 7. 7 equals to 7. Now that's good. Okay, it checks out for both the equations. That means the answer must be B. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
We're just plugging the coordinate in there and seeing if that makes it, if that makes the equation true. It has to be true for both equations. Both equation means the system. System has 2 equations. At this level anyways, a system can have an infinite number of equations, which we're not even gonna get into, but 2 equations is a good starting point. If there's 3 or more equations, then things become much more difficult. We're not gonna get into it in this course, not even in grade 11, maybe in 12. We'll see what happens if there's 3 or more equations. Now they have given us an equation which is not in the standard form. Remember, for linear equations, the standard form is mx plus b, where y is by itself on the left-hand side. And it says which one of these is equivalent. Alrighty, let's solve this for y. We have 5x minus 4y plus 6 equals 0. I want only a y on the left-hand side. We're trying to isolate y. How do we go about doing this? When you isolate something, move everything else on the other side to the other side. So you'd move the 5x, you'd move the 6.
You subtract 5x.
Yeah, you subtract 5x, and you'd also subtract 6. You can do that in 1 steps or 2 steps. How do we get rid of that negative 4?
You divide by negative 4.
Yeah, you divide by negative 4. Negative 5 over negative 4 is 1.25. Negative 6 over negative 4 is plus 1.5. So this is a 2-step answer. It's going to be option A. Not tricky at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about if you wanted to isolate for x? You don't usually do this, but here some of the options are isolating for x. So if you isolate for x, you would add 4y, so it becomes 5x. You would add 4y and you would subtract 6 like that. Next, you divide both sides by 5. 4 over 5 is 0.8. 6 over 5 is 1.2. Notice how that's none of the options. This one has a plus, should have been minus, but that's how you'd isolate for x. It's pretty easy. Isolating, you just move everything to the next side. Hannah pays a one-time registration charge. Anything that's a one-time thing, that's fixed, that does not fluctuate, that is going to be your y-intercept. Then monthly fees, that's gonna change. It's gonna stack up depending on how many months you have. That's going to be your slope, okay? Anything that changes is slope. Anything that's fixed is gonna be your y-intercept, the constant. So here, we're gonna have to let something be something. Let x be the number of months, and y will be what? The answer is right here in this statement. Whatever is missing is always your x and y.
It's the price.
Yeah, y is the registration charge. Okay. So after 3 months, she paid 330, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you're right. Y would be the price. That'll be the total price. It's gonna be C, that's the registration fee. So 3 months, she paid 330, which means your price will be 330, right? So you get 330 is equals to, we don't know what the slope is, but we know it's been 3 months. So 3x and our constant C, that's the registration fee. Similarly, after 8 months, she's paid 655, which is the price that she's paid in total. What's the equation for this?
8x plus c.
Yeah, 8x plus C. Now you have a system of linear equations. You subtract. Or you can add, it doesn't matter, whatever. Both of them are just fine. You add the top equation with the bottom equation. 330 plus 655 is 589. 8x plus 3x is 11x, right? Actually, no, you have to subtract because this doesn't help you because now you still have two variables. The only way to, because usually the goal is to kill off one of the variables, otherwise it becomes unsolvable. So unfortunately here, you have to subtract, otherwise you can't get rid of that C. Did you understand why we have to subtract? Because you can only
Because
solve,
then we only have two
yeah,
variables
we can only
versus one.
solve an equation, one equation, if we have one variable. So if you have two variables in one equation, it's unsolvable. So we have to subtract this. So this becomes what? Negative 325 is equals to negative 5x, and C cancels out. So therefore x is 325 divided by 5, which is 65. So that's our monthly fee. To find the C, we are going to plug x into either one of them, either one of those equations. So 330 becomes 3 times 65 plus C. So 3 times 65 is 195 plus C equals 330. Subtract 195 from both sides. C is 135. So our registration fee was 135, the constant. Our slope monthly fee was 65. So the answer is 65, 135. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
It says, which linear system is equivalent to this? What do you think the strategy is here? When are two systems equivalent? if they have the same solutions, okay? If they
Mm-hmm.
have the same solutions, they are equivalent. I'm looking at A. A is very similar to these two equations, except there's a 3 here, there's a 9 there, which probably means everything else is the same. The only difference is the y-intercept is different. That means A is probably not the answer. I'm going to ignore A for the time being. Let's look at B. When we solve it, we're expecting an answer of 2 comma negative 1. See where they meet? Where they meet is the solution. So let's look at B. 6x plus 2y equals 12. 2x minus 2y equals 6. If I want to get rid of the y's, do I add or do I subtract?
You add.
Yeah, you add. So you get 8x is equals to 18, and that gives me a different answer for x. It's not 2. It'll be 2 point something. So B is out, okay? We're expecting an answer of exactly 2. Here, 8x equals 18 means we get a different answer. So that one is out. C. X minus y is equals to 3. 6x is equals to 12. I mean, that means just this bottom equation, 6x is 12. What's the x value?
It's 2.
It's 2. Now let's plug that up there to find y. So 2 minus y is equals to 3. Negative y is 3 minus 2, 1. So y is negative 1, and there we go. We got the x value as 2, and the y value is negative 1. Two systems are equivalent if their solutions are the same, okay? Solution just means where they meet. So that's the answer in this question. So they sold 771 tickets. The total price was $63.02. Students paid $6, non-students paid $10. How many non-students attended the concert? As here, it's very crucial to define what your X and Y is. What do you think X and Y is? What's X, what's Y?
The students and non-students.
Yeah, the number of students and non-students. So let's say students are X's and non-students are Y's. What's going to be the first equation?
X plus y equals 771.
Right. What's going to be the second equation?
6x plus 10y equals 6,302.
All right, 6,302. The first equation, you couldn't do elimination here, but it's gonna add an extra step. So if any of the coefficients are ones, just isolate it for that. So here, the top equation, both coefficients are 1, so you can either isolate for x or for y. We need to find y, so I think it's best to isolate for x. X is equals to 771 minus y. Now that's just from the first equation. We're doing a substitution, which means we're going to plug that as x into the second equation, okay? First equation, second equation, we're going to plug this as x into the second equation. So you get 6 times 771 minus y plus 10y is equals to 6302. How do you solve this linear equation for y?
You open the brackets.
You open the brackets. 771 times 6, which is 4626 minus 6y plus 10y equals 6302. You could have absolutely substituted for y here as well. We did it for x, but you could have done it for y. Why did we do it for x? Because this will give us the y as the answer automatically. If you substituted for y, then you'd have to plug it back in. It would add one extra step. but both methods are just fine. Or you could even do elimination if you wanted to. To do elimination, you'd have to multiply equation 1 by either 6 so that we can cancel out the x's, or multiply equation 1 by 10 and subtract so we can cancel out the y's. So here, they're like terms, 6y and 10y, so we are going to add them up like that, subtract 4, 6, 2, 6, which is 1676. So therefore 1676 divided by 4 is our final answer, which is 419. Therefore the number of non-students, which is our y, is 419, option B. Usually they don't give you a multiple choice question like this. It'll be a long answer question purely because they would like for you to have part marks. The issue with multiple choice questions is that either you get it or you don't, right? Even if you get it right up until here and you plug something wrong on the calculator, then you're toast. So in maths, usually, unless it's like a one-step answer or it's like a logic-based question, you don't usually get multiple choice questions. So on weekends, Brad likes to go cycling. So he goes along trails and off trails. He cycles 20 kilometers per hour on trails and 12 kilometers per hour off trails. He cycled 48 kilometers in 3 hours. How far did he cycle off trail? What's our X and what's our Y? Whatever they're asking is usually X and Y.
How much he cycles on trail and off trail?
Yeah. So let's say on trail is X and off trail is Y. What's going to be our first equation? Remember, the amount that he cycles in the trails is the distance, okay? He's cycling a certain amount of distances. Distance has a unit of meters, kilometers, whatever like that. What's going to be our first equation?
X plus y equals 48 kilometers.
Yeah, x plus y equals 48 kilometers. Now the next one is tricky, the next equation. What's the next equation? I'll give you a hint. You can set this up any way you'd like, but they've given us the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the time is 3 hours. The formula for time, this is very important. Distance, time, and speed, they're related. Distance is time times speed, which means speed is distance over time and time is distance over speed. This is like the holy trinity of physics. Not only physics, I mean, we've seen questions like these a bunch of times in maths. So let's say we're using this equation. Time is distance divided by speed. What's the distance he goes on the trails? It's x. What's his speed on the trails, on trails?
20 kilometers
One,
an hour.
yeah, 20, right? What about the next term here?
Y over 12.
Y over 12, there you go. So this is setting it up as a time, okay? Because they've given us time. Here we're gonna do another substitution. What's missing? So we wanna solve for x so that we get y, that we can sub in y because that's the missing component. So I'm gonna sub that as x in here. So you get 48 minus y divided by 20. plus y divided by 12 equals 3. How do you solve this? It's still a linear equation. There's only one variable y, but there are fractions involved now. What do you usually do when there's fractions?
You find the common denominator.
Yeah, what's the common denominator between 20 and 12? It's gonna be a multiple of 20. Is it 40?
No.
Is it 60?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's 60. So what you do is we want both denominators to be 60s. You have to multiply 12 by 5 to get a 60, so 5 on the second term. For 20, what do you need to multiply to get 60?
3.
3, so 3 top and bottom. Next up, we're gonna FOIL the brackets. 3 times 48 is what, 146? Minus 3y over 60 plus 5y over 60 equals 3. Now they have the same denominators, right? If they
Mm-hmm.
have the same denominators, you can combine them only if they have the same denominators. So one big denominator of 60, we have 144, and then minus 3y plus 5y is plus 2y equals 3. How do you solve this now?
You multiply by 60.
Yeah. So 144 plus 2y is equals to 180. Subtract 144, so 2y is equals to 36. That means y is 18. So he cycled 18 kilometers off trails, which means he cycled 30 kilometers on trail. It's quicker to cycle on trail for sure, because off trail there's gonna be, it's difficult because there's no set pathway. There's a lot of bushes, rocks, and it's actually not advised to go off trails in a lot of parks because you might encounter bears or something else, snakes. But people do it anyways, but technically you're not supposed to. That's why if you go camping, usually overnight camping or just camping in general, you would have something called a bear spray, okay?
Mm-hmm.
There's also something called a bear horn. You can also encounter moose, but moose is not that aggressive unless you bug it. But bears, if they're hungry, they will come for you. They'll come for your food, but yeah, there's a bunch of things you can take. But you'll know which national parks have what kind of animals beforehand if you just read their pamphlet. It's very unlikely that you encounter something they're not aware of. Let's look at this question. Which line segment has the midpoint? Alrighty, how do you find the midpoint between 2 points?
You add them and divide them by 2.
Yeah, exactly. You add them, you divide by 2. The first one, 2 plus 4 over 2, 1 minus 3 over 2, that's not negative 2. So the first one is out. The next one is also out because 4 minus 1 divided by 2 is not 3. Let's check for C. For C, you get negative 1 plus 7 divided by 2, 3 minus 7 divided by 2. I think this is it. 6 over 2 is 3. Negative 4 over 2 is negative 2. So the answer is EF. Oh, this is gonna be tricky because this we did it a long time ago. Not that long, but still. This is asking us for the median. A median is a line that goes from one of the vertices, okay, to the midpoint of the other side. So this point is 2, 7. This point is -2, 1. This point is 8, -3. So we're trying to find the equation of this line. To find the equation of a line, all you need are 2 points, because you can find the slope and you can plug it back in any point to find the C value. We already have the first point, A. All we need is the point M. How do we find point M here? Remember, it's the midpoint between B and C.
You add B and C and then you divide them by 2.
Yeah. So -2 plus 8 is +6 divided by 2 is 3. 1 minus 3 is -2 divided by 2 is -1. So you get 3, -1. Okay, that's the midpoint. So we have everything we need to answer this question. How do you find the equation of a line that using 2 points? This is a grade 9 question. What do we do first? We have 2 points. We want to find the equation of that line. If you think about it, you have 1 point here, you have 1 point there. You want to find the equation of this line. What do you do? What can you find?
The slope.
The slope, right? Rise over run. So we're going from 3, -1. So down here, 3, -1. Oh, actually, we're going from 2, 7. 2, 7 to 3, -1. That's not, oh, that's fine, yeah. What's the slope? What's the rise? We're going from 7 to -1.
It's 8.
Yeah. What's the run?
It's 1.
It's 1, right? And remember, negative slope because we're going down. It's falling. This line is falling down. So the slope is -8. So therefore, our answer, I mean, we know it's going to be D because that's the only one with -8, but we also want to find the C value. How do you find the C value?
You plug in a point.
Yeah, you plug in any point. So y is 7, or not any point, the point that's on a line. So in this case, you can only plug either A or M because that's the only points that you know. So 7 is equals to -8 times 2 plus 3. 16 plus 7 is 23. So therefore the answer is D. Okay? So that's the median. It's not that difficult. You just find the midpoint of the other side, find slope, find C, and done. Which point is closest to P -1, 4? How do you think we do this? We need to find the distance between 2 points. We're gonna have to use the distance formula, okay? Distance formula is just the Pythagoras theorem. It's just finding C. What do I mean by this? If you look at the first point, 2, 5, and then our point is -1 and 4. So let's say we're trying to find the distance here. We're gonna turn this into a triangle, find this side, the hypotenuse of the triangle. So you basically find your rise, you find your run, that's gonna be the distance side lengths of the triangle, and then you find the hypotenuse using C. This is a shortcut formula for finding the distance. y2 minus y1 squared plus x2 minus x1 squared. Now I'm going to say this one is x1, y1. This one is x2, y2. Now it's just a matter of plugging things in. The first one will be 5 minus 4 squared, which is 1 squared. 2 plus 1 squared, which is 3 squared, 9. So for A, you get square root of 10. For B, again, you do the same thing. 2 minus 4 is negative 2 squared, which is a 4. 1 minus 1 squared, or 1 plus 1 it becomes, which is 2 squared, so 4 plus 4. That's square root of 8. Well, A is still winning so far. Let's look at C. y2 minus y1, so that is negative 3 squared becomes positive 9 plus x2 minus x1. So negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. Squared becomes a 4, so that's root 13. So C is winning now. And then finally, you have D. So again, this is x2, y2. Formula is y2 minus y1, 6 minus 4 squared, which is 2 squared, 4. Plus negative 4 plus 1, so that's negative 3 squared, 9. That is still root 13. We got both answers to be the same. Does that make sense? Did I do something wrong? 1 minus 4 squared plus negative 3 minus negative 1 squared. This is 13 for sure. The next one, 4 plus negative 4 minus negative 1 squared. 9. No, they're both equidistant from the point P, okay? They're both root 13s. This one is tricky. There's no way you remember this. If you do, you get 10 points. We have an equation. So when y is 0, x is 2. When x is 0, y is 3. So 0, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 2, 0. So I'm just graphing that equation they've given us. So this is that equation. And the question is, which point is the closest to that equation? What's our approach here? What do you think? How do you even do this? Just remember this, okay? Closest means you're trying to find the displacement, okay? You have distance and you have displacement. Distance is the total distance traveled, whereas displacement is the shortest distance. And anything short has to do with being perpendicular. Anything short has to do with being perpendicular. Here we can kind of eliminate some of the points, I think. 0, 0 to this, you get this distance here. 1, 3, 1, 3. Here, you get this distance, yeah? It's always going to be perpendicular. It's going to be 90 degree. Look at this. This is the 90 degree there. Negative 2, positive 4. So negative 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the third point, our D. Then you have 1, negative 1. 1, negative 1, like that. Now the question is, how do we find any of those things? This is going to be tricky. This is why multiple choice questions are not the best. I'm going to first rewrite that equation in the form of y equals mx plus b. So 2y is equals to negative 3x plus 6 y is equals to negative 3 over 2x plus 3. If something is perpendicular, okay, what's the equation? How are the slopes related?
It's the negative reciprocal.
So negative, what's the negative reciprocal of negative 3 over 2?
2/3.
2 over 3. So you see all these dotted green lines? All four of them, which comes from all 4 points, all of them have a slope of 2 over 3, okay? The only missing component is we don't know what the intercept is. How do you find the intercept? You plug in a point. So for A, you plug in 0, 0. So your intercept becomes 0 for A. So your equation for A is y equals to 2 over 3. Okay? Now you know that equation. How do you find the distance? What you need to do is you need to find the POI where they intersect. Where 0, 0 intersects with this line at what coordinate? So look at this. We have y equals to 2 out of 3x. We have y is equals to negative 3 over 2x plus 3. I'm going to set the y's equal to each other to see where they would intersect. And then we need to find the distance. So 2 divided by 3 plus 3 divided by 2. 3 divided by that answer, that gives me x is 1.38, which means y is going to be that times 2 over 3, which is 0.92. So next, you want to find the distance. The thing we found there is this coordinate here, where point A intersects with the line. Next, what you want to do is you want to find the distance from that point to A. If you do that, you get 1.38 squared plus 0.92 squared, square root of that. The distance there is 1.66. Now you do the same thing 3 more times. Let's do one more. We don't have to answer this question, but I just want to show you the process. How do you find the distance from 1, 3, the shortest distance from the coordinate 1, 3, which is up here, to this line, okay? We know this line, this green dotted line, has an equation of y equals 2 over 3x plus c. How do you find that c value? Anytime the intercept is missing, you simply plug in a coordinate, right? The only coordinate we can plug in, we don't know any coordinates on the line itself, on the main question line, but we do know a coordinate right here, 1 over 3. So we're going to plug that. Y value is 3, x value is 1. So that means your c value is 3 minus 2 divided by 3, which is 7 over 3, or 2.66, or 2.67. It should be 3. So therefore, the equation using b, this equation here, is y is equals to 2 over 3x plus 2.33. We want to see where this intersects the line, which means you set the y's equals to each other. Y from this coordinate is equals to the y from the main question. 3 over 2x plus 3. Next, you want to solve this for x. So 2 divided by 3 plus 3 divided by 2. 3 minus 2.33 divided by that. The x value is 0.309, which means the y value, you plug it in there, will be times 2 divided by 3 plus 2.33, which gives me a y value of 2.56. So you see that point there, where this line intersects our question line, is this. Next, you want to use the distance formula. So I'm finding the distance from this coordinate, which is somewhere here, to this point, which is exactly there. So the formula for distance, 2.56 minus y2 minus y1 squared plus x2 minus x1 squared and the square root of that. which gives me a distance of 0.81, which means this is shorter than this, okay? And you do this 2 more times, and the shortest distance wins. Cool?
Mm-hmm.
This is called a perpendicular bisector. What that is this. You have the midpoint here, or a coordinate. Perpendicular bisector intersects that midpoint, doesn't go through the vertex. Median is the one that goes through the vertex. Perpendicular bisector does not go through the vertex. It cuts it in half, and it's always at 90 degrees. Anytime they say shortest or any of these types of words, the least, you're gonna use the perpendicular bisector. What about this? Determine the equation of a circle that has a diameter with the points -2, 7 and 2, -7. Remember, the equation of a circle has this form: x squared plus y squared equals r squared. So we have our points -2 and 7 up here. And then we have another point 2 and -7 down there. Now this is the diameter, right? How do you find that length? Length is just the distance between 2 points. What you can do is you can find it using the distance formula, right? You can find using the distance formula. Alternatively, you can find it using rise over run. Look at this. We're going from 7 to -7 on the y, which means our rise is 14, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going from -2 to 2. What's our run?
It's 4.
It's 4, which means this distance here, the hypotenuse, is our c value, 14 squared plus 4 squared. 196 plus 16. Which gives me like 14.56. That is our diameter. How do you find the radius if you have the diameter?
You divide it by 2.
Yes, you divide it by 2. So I'm going to divide that number by 2, which gives me the radius is √53 exactly. The distance formula uses r squared. So if r is √53, what's r squared? What's √53 squared? Because that's what it is. R squared is just √53 times √53, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
If you have multiple roots, they cancel each other out. So r squared would simply be 53. If a is √2, a squared would be 2, okay? If it's squared, then they cancel, it cancels out the root. So if r is √53, r squared is going to be 53, and that's what the equation uses. So r squared, replace that with 53, the answer is D. Cool?
Mm-hmm.
This is another annoying question. It says, which triangle is a right triangle? It's a horrible straight line. I'm just gonna graph them. -3, 3. So our A is gonna be -3 and 1, 2, 3 up there. That's our A. For the first triangle anyways, our B is 2, 5. So 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's our B. And our C is 6 and negative 5. So 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and negative 5. And then we're going to join the dots to see if it looks like a right triangle. Kind of does, right? Kind of does. So how do we actually prove it? Because it could be 89 degrees, it could be 91 degrees. 91, right angle means it needs to be exactly, precisely 90 degrees, right?
Mm-hmm.
A is negative 3, negative 3, 3. B is 2, 5. What's the slope between A and B? What's the rise between A and B?
2.
2. What's the run?
It's 5.
It's 5, so slope is 2 over 5. What's the slope between B and C? What's the rise?
It's 10.
It's 10. It'll be negative because it's falling. What's the run?
4.
4. What does negative 10 over 4 reduce to?
Negative 5 over 2.
Right, now look at this. This is going to answer our question. If it's a right angle there, right? If it's perpendicular, right angle just means perpendicular. The slopes of the adjacent sides are going to be negative reciprocals of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Is 2 over 5 and 5 over 2 negative reciprocals?
Yes.
Yes, it is, which means that there is definitely a right angle. That means this triangle ABC is a right angle, okay? So that's how
Mm-hmm.
you deduce it. Right angle means you need to know that the slopes are going to be negative reciprocals. Anytime they throw coordinates at you, just graph it. You'll get a good idea of what the answer should look like. You could get away with not graphing it, but because this is analytical geometry, you should probably graph it. So the first point is negative 4, negative 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So that's my point A. B is negative 5 and 2, so negative 5 and 2 is up there. C is 3 and 4. 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it only takes like a second, like 30 seconds to graph it. D is 8 and 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1. So that is our point D, okay?
Mm-hmm.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You see, now we can answer this question without even doing any maths. What is that shape? There's the 4 options they've given you.
It's a trapezoid.
It's a trapezoid, right? Yeah. A parallelogram, you can just freehand this. Parallelogram would have these two sides are equal, okay? But they're also parallel. These two sides up there are equal, and they're also parallel. It's a parallelogram. A rhombus is basically a parallelogram with all 4 sides equal. So all 4 side lengths are equal, and this side is gonna be parallel to this side, and this side is gonna be parallel to this side. Rectangle, you know what it is. 2 sides are equal here, 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 and every angle in there is 90 degrees. A trapezoid is something like this. This side, okay, this side must be parallel to this side. It doesn't matter what happens on these two sides. As long as it's a four-sided diagram that has top and bottom parallel, that's a trapezoid. This side length is called A. This side length down here is called B, or the base. And you need something called the height, which is the altitude. This side length here that connects A to B at 90 degrees, that's your height, which means the formula for the area of a trapezoid is A plus B divided by 2 times H. This is not very common, that you don't usually see it, but that's how a trapezoid behaves. All right, anyways, let's call it there for today.
Okay, thank you.
See ya.